A few athletes in India have been forced to come to terms with the devastating prospect of not being able to participate in upcoming competitions. That's because for the third time in only 4 years, India's Paralympic Committee has been suspended. We've got an array of guests to dissect why it has come to this, but first, Suprita Das brings us this special story.
Less than a month back, these images of the National Paralympic Games being conducted in a shoddy manner in Ghaziabad shocked everyone. It resulted in the sacking of Rajesh Tomar, the president of the Paralympic Committee of India, or PCI. Now the PCI has been indefinitely de-recognized by the International Paralympic Committee for infighting within the federation. This is the third time in 4 years that the PCI has been de-recognized by the world body for the same reason.
It's a shocking news that what we got last night, but we do not understand as to why they have taken such a harsh decision on us. There was some internal conflict within our Paralympic Committee which was to be solved within ourselves, but we will be doing our job in requesting them to resolve the issue.
ये मुद्दा आईपीसी में भी रिक्वेस्ट डालूंगा और ये कहूँगा कि खिलाड़ियों को कैसे अकोमोडेट किया जाए. आप फेडरेशन को सस्पेंड रखिए, देयर इज नो इशू एट ऑल, बट द एथलीट शुड नॉट बी their participation should not be compromised.
Those may be reassuring words, but with the Sports Ministry also threatening to de-recognize them unless they respond to a show-cause notice, the future isn't looking bright for the Paralympic Committee of India.
It's not easy to afford our training. Nobody's coming and giving us sponsorships. Nobody holds our hands. We make our own arrangements to train. There is not a single academy in the country which says that yes, this is dedicated to para sports persons. In spite of all that little federation that we have which encourages us to participate, just because of the fault of a couple of people on the top, we have to suffer. Why?
Will it be a stopgap solution this time around too, or will the federation take concrete steps like forming an athletes commission perhaps to handle administrative issues? Whatever happens needs to happen fast. Otherwise, India's para-athletes will miss out on competitions starting with next month's World Blind Games in South Korea. In New Delhi, Suprita Das, NDTV.
Now with me is Arjuna awardee and international Paralympic athlete Deepa Malik, the suspended president of the Paralympic Association of India, Mr. Rajesh Tomar, and of course the Secretary General of the suspended body, the Paralympic Association of India, Mr. Chandrasekhar. We do hope that those two gentlemen will also join us. Deepa, if I could start with you, this was on the cards, wasn't it?
Well, as a sports person, we concentrate mostly on our training. Coming back from Incheon, South Korea with a new Asian record and an A qualification for the upcoming World Championship. In past 6 months, we definitely have waited for our camps to come up, and the day our camp actually begins is the time when we come to hear that the PCI has been suspended, and as an athlete we are no longer going to take part. It definitely has come as a huge shocker. In fact, earlier the day when I spoke to NDTV, I was almost shattered because I had just heard of the news. And it's been 6 months. I have been training. I have been sacrificing my family time. I've been sacrificing my money. I've been directing everything that I have in this paralyzed body to the preparations of the upcoming World Championship. And just 3 months short of the submissions of the entries, if this happens, it's definitely heartbreaking. And for no fault of athletes. We as athletes have done a bit. We as athletes have actually brought up medals from every international. If for last 4 years this has been happening, and in last 4 years only I picked up my Arjun Award with all 13 international medals in my hand.
Right.
So you can imagine in what psychological conditions and physical conditions that we are training. It's high time they put a stop to it.
Ma'am, talking about that, do you think the suspension will actually shake up the system, or will they simply find a stopgap solution yet again?
See, I don't know, because it's happened 3 times already. There has been a lot of juggling, shuffling. The elders, the seniors, individually, each one is aiming at the same thing, which is the betterment of parasports. But when it comes to putting their minds together and holding each other's hands, these confusions are affecting us at the end of the day. It's a serious appeal to all the seniors, whether it is in the sports ministry, whether it is the Sports Authority of India, whether it's the federation. Please, it's high time. Our careers are at stake.
Right. Ma'am, before I ask you the next question, I just want to get Dean Jones because, Australia has a very, very good system of handling Paralympic athletes. And I want to show these shots to him because he may not have actually seen them. This is the National Paralympic Competition of India, the 15th one, which was held in Ghaziabad last month. And these are some shots that will give you an indication of how deplorable the conditions were. Dino, once you see these, you'll get a sense of what the condition is, and that's one of our athletes walking up the steps because there's no ramp in the situation, in the competition, in the facilities where they're going to be staying, and after which they're going to be probably competing in. Yeah. Can you give us a sense of how different it is in Australia?
Well, I'm shocked to see what we're seeing, that vision there, and I feel very sorry for the athletes here, Paralympians that's going through what they are through it now. In Australia, we're just as proud as our Paralympians, para-athletes as we are with our normal athletes.
Are they very popular?
Is. Huh?
Are they very popular?
Oh, massively. I know one girl, Carol Cook, she suffers from MS badly, and I'm an ambassador for the multiple sclerosis. And what she's done, she's won 3 gold medals, and people adore her. She's an inspiration. And so are these people here. They seem to get through life and inspire people who don't have these illnesses, and yet they still be able to go out there and train and get over obstacles. And we need to get behind our athletes. They represent our country. That's shocking what I'm seeing here. But we've got to get smarter than this.
Deepa, we did manage to speak to Rajesh Tomar, and we also invited him on our show. Of course, he's been caught up in traffic. That always happens when you're living in Delhi. But what he told us earlier was that he's going to try and write to the International Committee and ask them to let the athletes of India go ahead and participate in competitions, and he's going to make sure that happens. But do you think that's enough? Do you think the same thing that happened with the International Olympic Committee and the Indian Olympic Association?
Let me first come back. Let me first come back to the pictures, the deplorable condition that you have just shown, and we have a foreign guest, an official from a foreign Paralympic committee. But can you just take this camera around all over the country and see whether the entire country is actually infrastructurally is powerful enough to enable people like us? It is not just a question of one particular event. It is a larger issue than what it appears. It's an absolute window into the fact that this is how we live day to day in our country because it has infrastructural challenges.
Right.
Because it's not just about this competition.
Right. We do have Mr. Chandrasekhar right now who's joining us on the phone line.
Yes.
And he's the Secretary General of the Indian Paralympic Committee that has been suspended. Sir, we've just been talking about it, and we've seen the shots of the conditions in Ghaziabad during the National Games, the National Paralympic Games. Can you give us a sense of how you are going to react to this suspension? Are you going to shake up the system yourself, or are you going to just say that, man, there's infighting, so we can't really do anything?
No, we are shocked with the outcome of the orders from the International Paralympic Committee. But we will try to convince them that it should not be the case. There has been a small infight.
I'm sorry.
But that should not hamper.
I'm sorry, sir. You say you're shocked, but can I please understand how you're shocked? Because in March you have these deplorable conditions in your national games, and then you say you're shocked. Wasn't this expected once you had these conditions?
That has happened within our country, and the International Paralympic Committee should not have taken such a big stand. They should have got into details as to why that has happened. There are so many reasons as to why that has happened. So we are exploring the details as to why that has happened, and we are giving it a report to the government. The government has asked for a report on that. The results will speak thereof as to why it has happened.
Right, Mr. Chandrasekhar, we're obviously going to try and continue to track this story. There are lots of reasons why this has happened. That is what you yourself and Mr. Rajesh Tomar told us earlier also. But clearly none big enough for this suspension to actually take place, because at the end of the day, it's the athletes that are suffering. Dean Jones with me on that, and Deepa ma'am, thank you so much for joining us. Mr. Chandrasekhar, thank you so much. We couldn't get you on video conferencing, but nevertheless, thank you for giving us your point of view.